Imagine this. First shift walks out, second shift walks in. The outgoing lead does a quick walkthrough, points out a machine that was acting up, flags a rush order that has to go out tonight, and hands over a short note with what's done and what's not. Everyone knows the plan, and the work just keeps moving.
Now picture the same plant, same day, but no real handoff. First shift clocks out right at the bell. Second shift signs in, looks around, and says, "Wait, why is this line stopped? What are we even supposed to be running?" By midnight, people are frustrated, something gets missed, and everyone's blaming the other shift. And usually, by the time it hits our phones the next morning, it sounds like night shift never does what they're supposed to, or day shift sets us up to fail. But when you peel it back, it's almost always the same issue. Shifts just aren't talking to each other in a clear, consistent way.
Today, we're digging into one deceptively simple moment that can make or break your operation: the handoff between shifts. When shifts don't talk, safety slips, orders get delayed, and good workers decide pretty quickly, yeah, I don't need this place.
Our goal in this episode is practical. We're going to walk through a realistic playbook for cross-shift communication that fits real-life, busy floors and multi-shift operations. No fancy software required, just a repeatable 10-minute routine that protects safety, productivity, and retention.
We'll talk directly to both sides. If you're an employer, a supervisor, or in staffing, you'll hear the 5 essentials every good handoff needs. And if you're a job seeker or frontline worker, we'll give you simple questions and phrases you can use to protect yourself, do good work, and turn that just a temp role into something more stable.
All right, let's begin with the problem we keep seeing over and over. What actually happens when cross-shift communication is weak?
So, Jennifer, let's get honest about what this looks like on the floor. I think of the plant where the night crew would walk in and immediately say, "What did Days even do today?" And then the next morning, Days would say, "We spent half our shift fixing what Nights messed up." You could feel the tension at the time clock.
Exactly. And underneath that tension, there were some very real consequences. You'd see rework piling up, parts that had to be redone because the changeover notes weren't clear. Or a machine that had been running with a temporary workaround and nobody told the next shift. Suddenly, you've got a near miss because someone assumed it was operating normally.
Yeah, and from the staffing side, here's what it sounds like in our office. A worker calls and says, "Hey, I got different instructions from each shift lead. I did what second shift told me, and now first shift is mad at me." That person feels stuck in the middle, especially if they're a temp. They don't want to lose the assignment, but they also don't want to argue with a supervisor.
That's such an important point. When there's no clear handoff, temp workers and new hires are usually the ones who get squeezed. They get mixed messages, they don't know whose direction to follow, and it feels risky to speak up. Over time, that turns into fast turnover. People simply ask the agency for a different assignment, or they stop picking up shifts.
And for the employer, that looks like constant backfilling, more overtime to catch up on mistakes, and this underlying belief that we just can't find good people. When in reality, you might have good people who are just trying to operate in a communication fog.
So if you're listening and thinking, "We don't have time for more meetings," stay with us. This isn't about adding a big formal process. It's about tightening up one small, high-impact moment so that you actually save time, reduce rework, and lower frustration across the board.
Let's talk about what needs to be in that moment. If you're an employer or a staffing pro, there are 5 essentials a good shift handoff should always cover, even if the whole thing is only 5 to 10 minutes.
Number 1, safety issues. This comes first, every time. Did anything happen last shift that affects how we're working now? Maybe there was a near miss, a slip in a particular area, a malfunctioning guard, or a spill that's been cleaned up but still needs caution. The outgoing shift should briefly say what happened, what's been done, and what still needs attention.
Number 2, equipment status. What machines are down, which ones are running, and are there any quirks or temporary fixes in place? For example, line 3 is running, but we're manually checking every 10th part because of a sensor issue. Maintenance is scheduled for 2 a.m. That's the kind of detail that keeps the next shift from walking into surprises.
Number 3, production priorities. What absolutely must get done this shift? Not the entire wish list, but the top 1 to 3 priorities. Is there a hot order that has to ship by morning? Are we switching from one customer to another halfway through the shift? The outgoing lead should clearly tell the next team what's been completed and what's still critical.
Number 4, staffing and attendance notes. Who's here? Who's new? Who's out? And are there any role changes? For example, we've got 2 new temps on the line. One is strong on packaging, one's still learning. Or, we're short 1 forklift driver, so we're consolidating loads differently tonight. That context helps the incoming team set realistic expectations instead of assuming a full crew.
And number 5, open questions. This is the one a lot of teams skip, but it's powerful. What's still uncertain? Maybe we're waiting on a maintenance check, clarity from a customer, or a decision from a supervisor. Saying out loud, "We don't have an answer on this yet, here's what we're doing in the meantime," keeps rumors down and helps everyone work from the same information.
If you hit those 5, safety, equipment, priorities, staffing, and open questions, you have the bones of a really solid handoff. The challenge then becomes, how do you do this in 10 minutes or less without adding a big meeting that everyone resents?
Let's build that 10-minute huddle. And I want to say this clearly for supervisors who are already stretched. This is not meant to be another long safety meeting. Think of it as a quick huddle at the intersection between shifts, just like a sports team huddles between plays, not a whole new practice.
So, who's in that huddle? At minimum, your outgoing shift lead and incoming shift lead. If you have a production supervisor who floats across shifts, they're ideal to anchor it. In some operations, it also helps to have one key person from maintenance or quality join for a minute if there are active issues.
Where do you do it? Ideally, right on the floor, near the main production area or control board, not hidden in an office. That way, you can literally point at the machines, the boards, and the schedule while you talk. And workers can see that there is a real handoff happening, not just mystery decisions made somewhere else.
And what gets written down? This is where people worry they need a fancy digital tool. You don't. A simple paper or notebook works just fine to start. 1 page per shift with the same 5 headings: safety, equipment, priorities, staffing, open questions.
Here's a super basic checklist you can picture. Safety. Any incidents, near misses, or hazards. What's been done and what still needs watching. Equipment. Which lines or machines are up, down, or running with a workaround. Priorities. Top 1 to 3 orders or tasks for the next shift. Staffing. Who's new, who's out, any key reassignments? Open questions. What are we still waiting on, and what's the temporary plan? That's it. The outgoing lead hits those bullets. The incoming lead can ask a couple of clarifying questions, and both sign or initial that page so there's a record.
If you're a staffing partner, this is a great place to support your client. You can help design that one-page form, encourage supervisors to actually use it, and then check in with your workers. Are you seeing this handoff happen? Is the info on that page matching what's really going on?
Now, even with a good checklist, how people talk to each other in that moment matters. Let's get into the language that helps versus the language that hurts, because tone can either build trust between shifts or blow it up.
Right. So here's a blame-heavy version of a handoff statement. Night shift never cleans up this area. We always have to fix their mess. That kind of comment might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't solve anything. It just builds walls.
Now compare that with a facts-first version. We noticed trash and stray parts left in this area last night. Today, we cleared it and set up bins here and here to keep it clean going forward. Same situation, but one is finger-pointing and the other is describing what happened and what we did about it.
Another example. Blame heavy. They never finish the priority orders. They just work on whatever they feel like. Facts first. The priority order for customer A is 60% complete. We had a material delay at 3 p.m., so we shifted to customer B's order to keep the line running. Here's what's left on customer A for tonight.
Notice in those facts-first statements, we're not guessing motives. We're not saying why the other shift did something. We're just sharing what happened, what changed, and what's next. That's the model supervisors want to use, and it's the tone we want workers to see and copy.
If you lead a crew, you can literally say at the start of a handoff, we're going to focus on facts, not blame. And then back that up by thanking people when they stick to the facts. When someone slips into they never, you can gently redirect. Let's talk about what we saw and what we did today.
Let's shift gears and talk directly to the job seekers and frontline workers for a minute. Because even if your company doesn't have a formal handoff yet, you still have options to protect yourself and do good work at the start of each shift.
If you're walking onto the floor, here are 3 simple questions you can ask at the beginning of your shift. First, what are the top priorities for our shift today? That tells your lead, I want to focus on what matters most, and it gives you something to refer back to if you get pulled in different directions.
Second question, is there anything I should know about safety or equipment before I start? That might sound like, any machines acting up? Any areas I should be extra careful around tonight? You're signaling that you care about doing the job safely and correctly.
And third, who do you want me to check with if I get 2 different instructions? This one is huge, especially for temps. You can say it in a respectful way. Sometimes I get direction from different people on the floor. Who do you want me to treat as my main point of contact?
Now, let's say you do get conflicting directions. Maybe first shift tells you one thing as they're leaving, and your current shift lead tells you something different. You don't have to pick a side or get caught in the drama. You can use neutral, facts-first language, too.
For example, you might say, just so I'm clear, earlier I was told to do X, and now I'm hearing Y. Which one should I follow? Or, I want to make sure I do this the way you prefer. Can you show me how you want it done on this shift? You're not blaming another person, you're just asking for clarity.
If something doesn't feel safe, you can pair that with a safety focus. Something like, "I'm concerned this might not be safe the way I'm doing it now. Can we walk through the right steps together?" Most good supervisors will stop and help when you frame it that way.
And if you're a temp or new hire, remember, good communication can be the difference between being seen as just a body versus being seen as a reliable, long-term person. Showing up on time, asking those 3 questions, and calmly clarifying instructions sends a strong signal that you're someone worth investing in.
All right, let's talk about putting all of this into practice without overwhelming anyone. If you're an employer or a supervisor, don't try to roll this out across the entire plant overnight. Pick one pilot area, maybe your busiest line, your highest risk area, or the team that's most open to trying new things.
Run the 10-minute handoff huddle in that one area for 2 weeks. Use the simple checklist: safety, equipment, priorities, staffing, open questions. At the end of those 2 weeks, ask 3 questions. Did we have fewer surprises? Did we see fewer reworks or near misses? And did people feel a little less tension between shifts?
If you're working with a staffing agency, loop them in. Ask your rep, "Can you help us reinforce this handoff?" Can you talk to your workers about those 3 questions to ask at the start of the shift? When staffing partners echo the same habits, it becomes part of the culture instead of just one supervisor's personal project.
And for workers listening, you can be part of that pilot too. Start by using those questions and neutral phrases yourself. If you notice the handoff huddle starting to happen, support it. Show up a few minutes early when you can, listen in, and ask, "Anything specific I should watch for tonight?" Little actions like that can really change how you're perceived.
Let's wrap with a quick recap of the 3 most important insights from today so you can walk away with a clear action plan.
First, poor cross-shift communication doesn't just create annoyance, it creates rework, near misses, finger-pointing, and fast turnover, especially for temps who are caught in the middle. Naming that problem is the first step to fixing it.
Second, a strong handoff doesn't have to be complicated. In 5 to 10 minutes, if you consistently cover those 5 essentials: safety issues, equipment status, production priorities, staffing notes, and open questions, you can dramatically reduce surprises and build trust between shifts.
And third, both supervisors and frontline workers have language tools they can use. Facts first, blame-free statements, and a few simple questions at the start of each shift help keep everyone aligned and protect workers from being stuck between conflicting directions.
Whether you're leading a crew or just starting on the floor, you deserve a workplace where shifts actually talk to each other. Small, consistent communication habits make a big difference in safety, productivity, and how it feels to come to work.
Thanks for joining us on Workers.com Staffing Pulse. Try one small change in your next shift handoff, see what happens, and keep building from there.
Until next time, stay safe and keep those lines of communication open.